When I was about 23 and just left university, I met a sports coach called Stuart Banner. And he coached, amongst others, a young man called Marchfius Garnaro, who at the time was a rugby player. But Stuart believed that he could be a world-beating athlete, especially at the 800 meters. And he persuaded March to come and train with him and set a goal of breaking the world 800-meter record, which they managed to do within 3 years. But during that period of time when they were training up, Stuart, who lived opposite, said to me, would I like to come running with them? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. And he said to me, I'll teach you how to run. And I thought, oh, well, that's a bit of a surprise. I thought I could run because I played rugby, cricket. I just assumed I knew how to run. But actually, as you can imagine, within a couple of weeks, there was a lot I'd learned about running from somebody who really knew the science of it. And my guess is if we said to most people today, let's look at the structure of your day, because actually there's probably stuff you can learn in this current environment. Most people would say, well, actually, I think I'm quite good at structuring my day. It's other people, it's interruptions, it's the sheer amount I've got to do, and that would be true. But let's see if we can take those 4 principles from Stuart Banner and actually throw some light on how we could be even more effective. So this is the 5th in the 6 series of videos, which is looking at ways of making us even more effective at a time like this. By the way, my name is Simon Wilsher, the founder of Color Profiling, a system which I know a lot of you already know and use and enjoy. So what are those 4 principles that Stuart Banner uses to make athletes more effective that we can look at? Well, the first thing is to run your own race. Secondly, it's to create a rhythm, a flow. Thirdly, manage the obstacles. And fourthly, do what comes naturally. So let's have a think through each of those 4 principles. 1, run your own race. So if we think about it, Marchfius Garnaro, about 6'4", lean, very fast, light-framed, much more suited to the 800 meters. Myself, the opposite, short, bit squat, certainly not light-framed, certainly not fast. And if either of us had if he'd tried to run the long distance or if I'd tried to run short distance, it wouldn't have suited us. So find the role, find the job, find the company that suits you, that you're designed for, and it can make life a lot easier. Secondly, how do we create a rhythm? So what we mean by that is a flow. How do we get enough time to do the things which take less energy, we really achieve very efficiently, very productive? So what Stuart did with me, he said, first of all, don't run with Marsh because he's a completely different runner. Run your own race. Secondly, what he did is he put his arm around mine so that my elbow was in his and my arm was lying along his. And what he did is he varied the time or the length of my reach of my arms and the pace. And what that did is that influenced the speed, the length of my stride and how fast I was running. And we varied that at different times of the training run. And it was really interesting because what it allowed my energy to flow. And he was talking to me all the time and saying what is happening in my body and how it would be more efficient. And it was quite extraordinary that dramatically made me more efficient and faster. And these are the equivalents, if you like, in managing our day. So creating prime time, that's time which is prime to focus on the important things but not yet urgent, but probably will become urgent and come and disrupt our day, and therefore everything else has to get put aside. But the other thing that we can look at is the circadian rhythm. And what that means, as we probably know, is your biological rhythm. So how good is your quality of your sleep? But it also determines, and that rhythm, that circadian rhythm, also influences when during the day we're likely to be most creative and have most energy. And for me, I know that that's between 8 and 10 in the morning, between like 3 and 5 in the afternoon and 8 and 10 in the evening. But I also have downtimes, sort of the ebb, if you know, when I have less energy, between 1 and 2, and between 2:30 and 3:30. So I know that during those times, if I try and focus on really important things, I'm not going to do it as well, or the probability is I won't do it as well as if I do it in my creative times. So work out when it is for you, and then build those times into, or see if you have any control. And do focus on what you can influence, by the way, rather than what's out of your control. And put those into times when you have your prime time, which is aligned with your creative time too. So key principle, if you can, for those things you can control during your day or your week or your month or your year. It's the same. There's a rhythm to your day. There's a rhythm to your week. There's a rhythm to your month and to your year. So holidays is hopefully part of that rhythm. Thirdly, how do we manage the barriers or the distractions or the obstacles? Well, anything that would slow down the momentum on the run, say like a hill or a ford or a stile going over a fence. Stuart taught me some techniques. So going up the hill was lean into the hill and raise your legs, because then your weight will carry you forward. And instead of having to drive with your legs, you raise your knees and it carries you forward up the hill much more naturally or much more quickly, which for me was not saying a lot, but it certainly increased my momentum. Secondly, if you come to a river, increase your pace before you get to the barrier, and that can take you through. Thirdly, if there's a stile, is increase your or an obstacle, increase your speed before you get to it, and then really focus on when your feet need to go, because you don't want to make a mistake crossing a stile. But that increased focus for a short period of time can really stand you in good stead. So what are the equivalents when it comes to managing your day? Well, that's group activities, whether that be emails or whether it be meetings or whether it be messages or whether it be notifications or whether it be whatever. People just interrupting you by walking into your room, whether it be at home or at work. So group your activities. Secondly, do the nasties first if you can, especially if it releases somebody else to do some work that day that will actually set other people free, because there's a chain effect. We're interlinked. We have to collaborate, support each other. Thirdly, write lists of things to do. Some of us write them down, some of them lists right here in our head, some of them night before, some of them first thing in the morning, but then prioritize from there. And if you find things reoccurring on your to-do list daily or weekly, then ask yourself, why are you putting it off? And either do the 3 Ds, either do it or delegate it or dump it and just get it off your list. But don't let it slow you down anymore, because every time you look at that, it's actually demotivating and it takes away from the momentum. And of course, look, there's a lot more methods there which we could go through with you, and do contact us if that would be helpful. But renewing your methods during a time like this, when our rhythm, if you has been disturbed, or we're working from home, or we have less time to travel and therefore think about it, critical to review your practices and principles that enable you to be efficient. So finally, do what comes naturally. We all know about eating well, exercising well, sleeping well, and we probably know more about it than we do well. Sleeping well is quite rare. Eating well, not so common either. Exercising well, yeah, I've learned that actually I try and get exercise 5 o'clock every day. It's made a big difference to me. And I think we can probably all fit some time to exercise, whether it be walking. A lot of people walk now and have a meeting, whether it be on your phone or with somebody else. And we've tried that and we find that it works really well. But the tool that we've got that actually can help people most of all is See Me, because that helps you work out what sort of things come most naturally. What comes most naturally requires least energy, and sometimes we do them best. So if you're a red preference, of course, it's getting into the action. So make sure there's enough action during each day, enough decision-making each day, enough, and meetings are short enough and punchy enough. If we have a yellow preference, make sure there's enough time to socialize and to come up into creative times with other people where you're bouncing ideas off each other. If we're green preference, then make time there's enough time to get things in order, to work out why we're doing things and how we integrate them and make sure other people are okay. And if we're blue energy, enough time working on our own, not being interrupted, so that we can think logically about things and work through all the facts, or enough facts, to come to good decisions and actually help people come to good conclusions in turn. And goodness knows we all need people with blue energy to help us do things well. So 4 ways in which Stuart Banner's methodology of taking, say, a rugby player and making them a world record holder in the space of 2 or 3 short years. 1, run the race you're designed to run. Secondly, is create a rhythm. Thirdly, manage the obstacles. Fourthly, do what comes naturally, and you're likely to do a job that's even more efficient and even more satisfying and less exhausting. So thank you for listening and watching. I hope it's been useful to you to manage to consider those 4 principles. If you have any comments, any questions, Any suggestions, please, as always, do get in touch. And if you'd like to show this video to anybody who you feel would benefit, then please, of course, please do that as well. And the next video will be on the spirituality, the meaning, if you like, man's search for meaning, both in his work or her work and at home in an area of life. Just a cracking session. Look forward to that. By the way, if you're wondering where we are, we're in the Moncton Combe Valley, just outside Bath, where we have our centre. I'll just swing around to show you our centre in case you haven't seen it. That's there. Do come and visit us at any stage to enjoy the work environment that we are fortunate enough to enjoy. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.